Hello again, everyone. Mr. Cruze here with another review for you. This time, part 2 of the Chapter 8 Prob and Stat Test Review. In the last video, we did the first two problems. If you need to get back to the first video, the link is in the description. But in this video, we're going to do problems 3 and 4. Again, remember, your test will be 4 multiple choice questions, 2 true-false questions, and 4 of these types of problems, okay? And they all should follow very similar steps. So let's continue. Tina is the chief accountant for Meek Industries. She believes that the current cash flow problems of Meek Industries are due to the slow collection of accounts receivable. She believes that more than 60%, right when you see the word percent, anytime you see percent, fraction, ratio, something like that, that means we're talking about a proportion. We just need to figure out if it's a 1 or 2 proportion. Of the accounts have an outstanding balance for more than 3 months. A sample of 200 accounts showed that 140 were more than 3 months old. At the 1% significance level, can we conclude that more than 60% of the accounts have an outstanding balance for more than 3 months? Notice there's only one sample here, so this is a 1 proportion z-test. Alright? That makes things a little easier for us. Step 1 is identify the null and the alternate hypothesis. Look at the last sentence. Can we conclude that more than 60%? So, percent, we're doing proportions. So I want pi to be more than 60%, which is 0.60. Obviously, if that one's greater than, the null hypothesis is less than or equal to. Alright? That is step 1. Step 2, alpha level this time is 0.01. Hopefully you're good so far. Step 3, it's a z-test, because n is bigger than 30. And this time it's a 1 proportion test. Alright, step 4. Since this one's greater than, this is another right-tailed test. Since it's greater, because it's on the right. Greater. Alright. Right side. This is 0.01. You need to go to your table and look up a z-score for 0.01, or the closest probability for 0.01. Obviously, it'll be on the negative side, because your table gives you everything to the left. Just take the positive of it. It should be positive 2.33. So we're going to reject if z is greater than 2.33. So let's figure out our z. That's step 5. The z for a 1 proportion test is p minus pi over the square root of pi times 1 minus pi all over n. Alright. P is your sample proportion, so we need to figure out what P is. That was 140 out of 200, which if you turn that into decimal is 0.7 or 0.70. So here we go. 0.7 minus, we used 0.60 for our pi, over the square root of, pi is 0.6, 1 minus pi would be 0.4, and n is the number of people you sampled, which is 200. Alright, when you type this all in your calculator, you get a z-score of 2.89. 2.89 is bigger than 2.33, so that is reject the null hypothesis. And that means we can conclude the last sentence, that more than 60%, I'm going to try and abbreviate as much as I can here, more than 60% of accounts have an outstanding balance. Alright. Outstanding balance. So that's ultimately what we do. We reject it. Again, if you look at p-value, you're going to look up negative 2.89. Look up negative 2.89 on your table. And when you do, you get a p-value of 0.0019, which is less than 0.01, which means you would reject, which just confirms what we said. Alright. Last one. An official of the Iowa Department of Highways wants to compare the useful life in months of 2 brands of paint used to put stripes down the center of roads. The official reviewed 35 road stripes painted with Cooper paint. The mean number of months, mean, okay, so we're talking about means. The mean number of months Cooper paint lasted was 36.2, with a standard deviation of 1.14 months. The official reviewed 40 road stripes painted with King paint. For King paint, the mean number of months was 37. I see 2 means, and I also see 2 standard deviations. This tells me this is a 2 mean z-test. Alright. That'll be useful later. So, step 1. Null and alternate hypothesis. Look at the last sentence. At the 1% significance level, is there a difference in the useful life of the two paints? Difference means not equal to. So, we've got two means here separated by a not equal sign. I'm going to call the first one mu C because it's mu Cooper paint. And the other one I'm going to call mu K. Alright. So that one's not equal. This one will be equal to. And that's step 2. Or that's step 1. Step 2 is alpha. 0.01 because it says 1%. Step 3, this is a z-test. We already said that because both of our samples are bigger than 30. First one was 35 and this one was 37. Or sorry, no, 40 road stripes. My fault. Either way, it's bigger than 30. But this is a 2 mean test. So, step 4. Since this is a difference problem, that means we have not equals to. That makes it a two-tailed test. Alright, so that means we have a tail on both the upper and the lower end. Everything needs to be split evenly between the two. So if I have 0.01 for alpha total, I need to divide that by 2 and get 0.005. So basically 0.5% above and 0.5% below. Again, look these values up on your table. They will be the same z-score, but one is negative, one's positive. Again, I believe it's between two numbers, so it's negative 2.575 and positive 2.575. So, how are we going to reject? We are going to reject if z is less than the negative one, or z happens to be bigger than the bigger one. Alright, so let's try it. For a 2 mean test, you have x bar 1, that's the first sample mean, minus x bar 2, that's the second sample mean, over the square root of your first standard deviation squared over n1, plus your second standard deviation squared over n2. Make sure you square those when you type them in your calculator. So let's go back up to our numbers here. The first sample mean was 36.2. By the way, once again, the first sample mean I'm using is the first one that we mentioned over here. So that would be the Cooper paint, which is why I'm using the 36.2 first. So 36.2 minus 37. 37 comes from the second mean, because that's the king paint. Over, and then I'm going to find my standard deviations. The first one is 1.14 squared. Over, there were 35 road stripes the first time, plus 1.3 squared, and there were 40 road stripes the second time. When you type that all into your calculator, you get negative 2.84 for your z-score. And then we need to decide whether or not we reject. Well, negative 2.84 is less than negative 2.575. It is smaller. So this is a reject the null hypothesis. We can say that the last sentence is true, that there is a difference between the two paints, basically. There is a difference in the useful life of the two paints. Alright, maybe one paint is better than the other. And by the way, this isn't necessary, but we could answer that question. Which paint is better, right? I think it's pretty obvious that it's probably the king paint is better. But all we can say for now is that there is a difference in the life of the two paints. All right. Real quick, p-value, in case this is one you want to do it on your test. P-value, look up negative 2.84. You see the probability is 0.0023. But since this is a two-tailed test, you have to multiply it by 2 because it's on both sides of the graph. So that's 0.0046. Either way, that is smaller than 0.01, so it is reject. It just confirms what we said here. All right. That's it, folks. That's the review for you. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to tweet me, email me, contact me somehow, or come in early in the morning, because I am here for you. I want you to do well on this test. You guys have been doing so well on this stuff. I hope you keep it up. All right. By the way, happy Hallows Eve. Tomorrow's Halloween, unless you're watching this in the future for some reason. Happy whatever day it is. But for those of you who I will see tomorrow, happy Halloween and have a good night.